Anyway, over to you, Hiranya.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone to the 6th session of Fridays for Water. For those of you attending the series for the first time, here's a short introduction to the initiative. The Friday for Waters initiative of the Wednesday for Waters is an expansion and continuation of the signature communication series Wednesdays for Water. The main idea is to make Fridays fun-filled and also fruitful with activities for the future generation. There are 4 activities initiated as a series for Friday Waters. There's Water Talkies, Water Reading Club, Water Thesis Club, and Water Arts. The idea is to bring forward knowledge about water available in various forms at one place and to highlight the issues, problems, and solutions. We also hope to increase the outreach of people who have been working in this area. Each of this session takes place on a Friday. The first Friday of every month, we have Water Talkies. Second Fridays like today are dedicated to book reading sessions. Third Fridays will host a thesis club, and the fourth is for Water Arts session. These Friday sessions are aspired to be fun-filled and fruitful to learn about water matters. Keep following us at www.forw.in for regular updates. To know more about this initiative, please go through the links that I've shared in the chat box. I've just done it. Yeah. I hope it's visible. Yeah. Okay. For today's session, we are very happy to have Nandini Oza, who will be speaking to us about her book, The Struggle for Narmada. A brief introduction about the author. Nandini is a researcher, a writer, a chronicler, and an archivist. She has worked as a social and political activist for over 2 decades in NGOs and people's movements, most notably the Narmada Bachao Andolan. As a full-time NBA activist from 1990 to 2001, she has helped mobilize and strengthen the organization of people affected by the Sardar Sarovar project. Since moving out of the role of a full-time NBA activist, Nandini continues to maintain close links with the struggle and the affected communities. Since 2004, her primary interest has been oral history documentation of the Narmada struggle and writing on various issues. She was the president of Oral History Association of India from 2020 to 2022. In 2017, she was selected for the prestigious Sangam House Writers Residency at Bengaluru. Her articles have been published in EPW, The Wire, Down to Earth, Counterview, etc. Additionally, she maintains a website on the oral histories of the Narmada struggle. She has also written 2 books. The first one is Wither Justice, Stories of Women in Prison. It came out in 2006. Its Marathi translation came out in 2012. Her second book in Marathi, Lada Narmadecha, came out in 2017, the English translation of which came out this year. For today's session, we shall be discussing this book, The Struggle for Narmada, an oral history of Narmada Bachao Andolan by Adivasi leaders Keshavbhau and Kevalsingh Vasave. We shall be sharing the links to this information in the chat box too. A warm welcome to you, Nandini. Thank you for joining us. A brief introduction to the book. I'll just start with a brief introduction to the book. The Struggle for Narmada is an attempt at retelling the history of the Narmada Bachao Andolan through the eyes of 2 Adivasi leaders of the movement, Keshavbhau Vasave and Kevalsingh Vasave. Relying exclusively on the method of oral history, Nandini reconstructs the trajectory of the Andolan through this detailed account of the life histories, trials, and tribulations of these 2 Adivasi leaders and all that they underwent to organize a collective struggle that spans across various states. The book puts into focus the contributions and struggles of subaltern activists in their own words and with minimal interventions and structural edits to their responses. In doing so, the book provides a heartfelt narrative rich with emotions, featuring the voices and experiences of the Adivasi leaders of the movement and their critique of the idea of development that has been adopted in the country and its social and ecological fallouts. And now I will hand over to Alka, who will be our discussant for this session.
Thank you, Hiranya. Welcome, Nandini. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about your life, your book, and about Narmada Bachao Andolan, especially in the eyes of Adivasi leaders and many others of the Andolan. As this book is based on interviews of two Adivasi leaders, and it's been recorded and then written about it. So I would really request you first to start with, playing the audio clips of those two leaders to begin with. Yeah, thanks.
To begin with, I must say that I can't tell you how happy I am, to be discussing this with essentially a group of people, many of who are, not only interested in water, but many based in Gujarat, because Gujarat and water are like, it's like since you are born and growing up and start understanding, water becomes a very primary part of one's lives because a large area is drought prone. So thank you so much. And particularly speaking with Alka, who has shared, probably both of us have a very similar journey. So I'm very happy to speak with Alka, because 30 years of association around water issues, joined AKRSP, Narmada, and we have had, similar lives. So I'm very, very thankful for having invited me. So before going to, the main discussion, I would like to give you a brief background as to why I did this oral history. I feel as an activist of the movement, the Narmada Bachao Andolan has raised very important issues, not just about rehabilitation, displacement, environment, water management, but very, very fundamental issue as to questioning the developmental model that we are pursuing in the country. Who benefits at whose cost? So I felt this was very important lesson for people's movement, and with similar other movements around big dams, there's a lot to learn. And I shared the concerns that our country is facing and felt that there's a lot to learn from this movement, and decided to record the powerful voices who have been the core of this struggle for several decades. And I felt it was important to hear and listen to them. Who are these people? What is their worldview? What do they think is development? And recorded about 400 hours of digital recording in 7 different languages and dialects. 2 languages are not having even a written script, the Adivasi languages, but an amazing wealth of knowledge of the natural resources that they have. They have a different kind of sustainable worldview also, which they are trying to pursue against great odds. So there was a lot to learn. And out of that, I felt that it will be difficult to bring out all these voices, 80 senior members, and decided to focus on the oral history of, as a first phase, the oral histories of 2 senior Adivasi leaders of the movement who have played, according to me, fundamental role in the movement. The Adivasi areas have played a very important, they've been the backbone of the struggle. So their voices need to be brought out first. And therefore this book. So I'll just try and share a slide with you. And share screen with you, and
you have sharing rights. Yeah.
You have sharing rights, but somehow I'm not able to share.
Hiranya,
we see your screen, huh? Nandini, we see your screen.
Nandini, you just have to open the PPT now on your laptop. Yeah, perfect.
Can you see me?
Yes, we are seeing your movement. Yes.
Yes.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes,
I'll also
visible.
share from the sound. I'll have to share sound also. Okay. So yeah, besides me, a lot of people in the country feel that the Narmada movement has been very important. I'll just share what a very senior academic of our country. Can you see it? Can you see this slide?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes,
It's visible. Nandini.
You put it in the slideshow, Nandini. Put it in the slideshow.
Let it be. I think I'll get a little confused
as you
if
wish.
this is okay.
Yeah. As you wish.
So Professor Shiv Vishwanathan has to say this about the Narmada struggle. He says, I'll read, to me, the most important historical event of the last 2 decades has been the battle over the Narmada Dam. The battle over the Narmada Dam reflects a journey, a pilgrimage, and a recollection of 30 years of resistance. It demands a different kind of storytelling. This struggle is about a collective history of people challenging the official history of a nation state. So, the voices of the people are very important. It needs a different kind of storytelling, a very important movement post India's independence. And these are the books that we are going to be discussing. We are already discussing today. First, it came out in Marathi and then in English. And it is about the 2 senior Adivasi leaders. And the voices I'll be playing is of Kevalsingh and Keshavbhau Vasave, the Adivasi leaders whose voices are in this book. Here, Kevalsingh, talks about the impact of displacement and what he feels when the Narmada submerges his house. It's a small portion from the book, very, just 1.5 minutes. Lot of things he has narrated are in the books. This is just a small selection. Often, we find displacement because of natural calamity, a tragedy, or displacement by, conflicts or riots, a tragedy. But displacement by developmental projects is considered necessary. And, we don't think much about it. But what really happens is that people's homes are lost forever. They're submerged, they're wiped out of the face of the earth. In other kinds of displacements, there is always a hope that we will be returning back to our lands. But when dams, mines, they permanently destroy homelands. So this is a short clip of Kevalsingh, where I'm asking him that what did he feel? How did he not feel angry towards the Narmada river itself for drowning his home? What is your relation? So he speaks about it. He speaks in Marathi. The subtitles are in English. So I'll play his voice here.
खरं नर्मदा तर एक देवी समान लोक मानतात. तर इतकी पवित्र मानली गेलेली नर्मदा नदी, तर तिच्या किनारी आम्ही राहिलो. एका प्रकारे आम्ही ते नर्मदाची पुत्र आहे, मुलं आहोत असं आम्हाला वाटतं. जेव्हा माझ्या घरात जेव्हा पाणी आलं होतं नर्मदाचं, सरदार सरोवरचं पाणी, तेव्हा मी अक्षरशः पूजा केली होती की इतके खोल नदी, जिथं नदीपर्यंत पोहोचण्यासाठी किमान आम्हाला 1.5 तास लागत होता पूर्ण उतरून, तर ती नदी आज माझ्या घरात आली असं म्हणून मी तिची पूजा केली. म्हणजे एका प्रकारचं आईची भावना ही नदीला लागून होती. मी तर तिचं वर्णन करू शकत नाही. तिथं राहण्यासाठी, तिथं जगण्यासाठीच आम्ही इतकी 20 वर्षाची 22 वर्षाची लढाई तर केली, पण अखेर नदी वाचवण्यासाठी हे सगळं करावं लागलं. नर्मदाचं वर्णन कोण करू शकतं? करणे मुश्किल आहे. पहिले आमच्या गावातून नर्मदापर्यंत जाण्यासाठी इतकं उंच डोंगरावरून खाली उतरून जावं लागत होतं. तेव्हा नर्मदा आम्हाला भेटत होती. आणि तीच नर्मदा जर आपल्या दरवाजात आली तर तिची पूजा नाही करायचं तर काय करायचं? काय गुस्सा करणार? आखी नर्मदाची काही सुख थोडीच होती. जे सुख केले ते एक मानवी ताकदीने हे तिला मजबुरी केली आणि तिला रोखलं गेलेलं आहे. म्हणून ती आली, म्हणून तिने डुबवलं. तिचं आपण काय सुख काढणार?
So you see, this is not just about a struggle for rehabilitation or questioning the development, the very worldview that rivers need to flow. For people like us, rivers is a resource to profit from, but for people, it's Ma Narmada, there's a relationship. So a lot of these things are part of this book, the feeling, the relation that people have on the banks of the Narmada with the river. Why did people fight, so on and so forth. The next clip is of Keshavbhau Vasave, again a very senior Adivasi leader. Actually, he here from in this short narrative, he tries to explain the attitude of the development planners towards the Adivasi community or the communities which are dependent on natural resources, agriculturists. People feel that they are, they don't know anything. So he's trying to show and express and explain what is the attitude of development planners towards people who are expected to give up everything for development. So he talks about a meeting he had attended of the chief ministers of the 3 states many years ago at the time of Chimanbhai Patel. And he narrates what happened there. It's also a part of the book. This is just a short clip. He also speaks partly in Hindi and Marathi, and the subtitles are in English.
शुरुआत चिमन भाई ने की। देखो भाई, दुनिया में सबसे बड़ी सरदार सरोवर योजना मानी जाती है। इस योजना से बहुत सिंचाई मिलने वाली है, बहुत बिजली मिलने वाली है। ये नर्मदा घाटी में बहुत सारी आदिवासी की बस्ती है। इनके गांव में ना डॉक्टर सुविधा है, ना शिक्षण सुविधा है, कोई विकास की काम नहीं हो सकता है। ऐसा दुर्गम इलाका, राक्षसी जीवन जैसे जीने वाले लोग आदिवासी, इन आदिवासी को हम ये एक सरदार सरोवर निमित्त से हम आदिवासी को हम शहर के नजीक पास बैठाएंगे, उनको आदमी जैसा बनाएंगे और शिक्षण दिलवाएंगे, उनको आगे बढ़ाएंगे। इसीलिए ये सरदार सरोवर योजना, इसीलिए इनका राक्षसी जीवन जीने वाले लोगों को हम आदमी जैसा बनाने की हमारा करना ये हमारा कर्तव्य है। इसीलिए ये सरदार सरोवर योजना, इस योजना को जल्दी से बढ़ाना है। इसीलिए गांव तो जल्दी खाली करना पड़ता है, बाकीचे उठत नव्हते ना, लगेच मी सांगण्यासाठी चालू आहे। मेरा नाम केशव वसावा है। मैं नर्मदा किनार से 220 गांव का प्रतिनिधि करके आया। एवढंच मतलब भयंकर मोठा विरोध झाला माझा, परंतु शरद पवारने शांतता मानली, आगे म्हणून सुरुवात की। अभी गुजरात के मिनिस्टर साहब ने बहुत बड़ी बात रखी, पूरा देश का विकास के लिए बहुत चिंतित मिलने वाली है, बहुत पानी मिलने वाला है, बहुत बिजली मिलने वाली है। ऐसी बहुत बड़ी विकास की बातें बताई गई है, लेकिन पुनर्वास के लिए बातें नहीं हो रही है, सिर्फ विकास के बारे में बात हो रही है। इसीलिए आप कहते होंगे नर्मदा विकास योजना कहते होंगे, लेकिन मैं इस योजना को मर जाऊंगा लेकिन मरते दम तक इस योजना को विनाशकारी योजना ही बोलतो रहूंगा, अशी भाषा वापरली। भयंकर विरोध झाला, इतका विरोध झाला की विचारू नका। अजून काय बोलायचं केशवराव तुम्हाला असं? हाँ, अजून म्हणायचं आहे साहेब मला थोडं। अभी मिनिस्टर साहब ने बहुत सारे बातें बतलाई। नर्मदा घाटी में पूरी आदिवासी की ज्यादा से ज्यादा बस्ती है। इन आदिवासी बस्ती को हम शहर के नजीक पास बैठाएंगे, इनको सिखाएंगे, पढ़ाएंगे, ज्ञानी बनाएंगे। 50 साल हो चुके हैं, लेकिन अभी तक क्यों नहीं पढ़ाइए? वहां भी विकास हो सकता था ना, लेकिन वहां अभी तक क्यों नहीं विकास पहुंचा? दूसरी बात, इस योजना से बहुत बिजली मिलने वाले है। बिजली किसको मिलने वाले है? बड़ी सिटी को। हमारे जैसे गरीब आदमी को आज भी अंधारे में रख पानी किसको मिलेगा? बड़े लोगों को, कंपनी वाले को। ऐसे लोगों के लिए ये सरदार सरोवर योजना दिखी जाती है। इसलिए हमारा कहने का मतलब यही है, इस योजना को पहला लाभ हमें नहीं मिलता होगा तो हम बांध को नहीं आगे बढ़ने देंगे। ये हमारी भूमिका है। ऐसा करके मैं बैठ गया।
So it's been a long journey for the people who've been fighting against this project, from being called barbarians to urban Naxals now, from Chimanbhai to Modi. And people who promote sustainable and equitable development, their life is that, are considered barbarians and urban Naxals, and we call ourselves, the Vikas Purush or whatever. So yeah, over to you, Alka. So all of this is in the book. much more. These amazing insights, and I do hope that those who are present here will read it in depth, and many more will do so in coming days. Thank you.
So, Nandini, in this session, no, we not only talk about the book, we also would like to know the author. So, my question to you now would be about your own life. In a situation like in Gujarat that time, why did you choose this Andolan path? And if you could narrate what were the motivations and why did you start with the struggle of struggle against Sardar Sarovar Dam?
Okay. So actually, I belong to the drought-prone area of Gujarat, Saurashtra, grew up in Bhavnagar. And as I said, all of us who are from the drought-prone areas of Gujarat grow up with, the scarcity of water. We have all seen it, experienced it. So I myself grew up believing that, Sardar Sarovar will permanently solve our drought-prone areas problems. It will turn the whole Gujarat into Nandanvan. That time, there was a huge hue and cry lifeline. And I had decided to work in the villages. And after doing my master's in social work, I joined Aga Khan Rural Support Program. And we were doing decentralized water management programs there. Even while we were doing those check dams, watershed, I continued to feel that this is just temporary. Ultimately, the Narmada will solve our problem, So this was only, stopgap arrangement till the Narmada is built, the Sardar Sarovar is built. After doing this work for a year or so, I decided to travel across the country to see what other people are working on. And there I was visiting the Adivasi areas, and one of the organizations told me that they are going to attend a rally in Bhopal against a project. So I said, okay, I'll go, because I was exploring what other issues the people in the country are facing. And there I was shocked to see that more than 2,000 people, Adivasis, farmers, fisher people, were protesting against Sardar Sarovar. They were being arrested, jailed, being taken away in buses. And yet they were, so adamantly stopped Sardar Sarovar. This gave me a jolt. I found them very genuine. And I came back to Gujarat and I was wondering that why are they opposing a project which is our lifeline? So I started studying some of the large irrigation projects of Gujarat, Ukai and Kadana, and even the one near my hometown, the Shetrunji, the 3 dams, big dams, and found that again, the displacement is of the very marginalized sections of the society. In case of Ukai and Kadana, it's again of the Adivasi areas, and the waters go to the powerful central Gujarat. And people are not even able to tell us where the people displaced have been rehabilitated. And I also found that only 45% of the estimated benefits of these projects were being achieved even after several years of their completion, so-called completion. And one more shocking fact was that the Gujarat government continued to spend nearly 80 to 90% of the financial budget on these large dams, depriving the smaller schemes of Saurashtra, Kutch and North Gujarat of the drought-prone areas, which were cheaper. There was no funds to implement those. There were more than 110 schemes that were lying sanctioned, but not getting implemented because all the financial resources were being put first Ukai Kadana and then Sardar Sarovar. So our water problem was actually getting aggravated because our decentralized water management programs, which were the real solutions, were not getting funds. And then I decided that it was best to join a people's movement that forces the government to change its policies from these mega, unsustainable, long gestation, destructive dams to, decentralized water policies. Of course, NGOs can help in creating models, but when you want to bring a wide range of change, the government has to change its priorities, and for that a people's movement is required. And that's when I joined the NBA. So I often tell people that it was not on the issue of Visthapan, but it was on the issue of Saurashtra and Kutch, that we want our decentralized water management schemes that not only conserves water, but even soil. It's very important to conserve soil. That I joined the NBA, but we were not allowed to raise a voice directly, either anti-national barbarians, anti-Gujarat, and now, of course, urban Naxals. But that's another story. But basically, I joined because as a Gujarati, my priority was not big dams, but decentralized water management programs for soil and water conservation. So that's my...
So a related question, Nandini, which comes is that in your experiences, how does Gujarat behave differently when such issues come up, when you compare it with, say, other states where Narmada was there, Narmada benefits were there, say Maharashtra or MP, if at all?
Actually, as far as Sardar Sarovar project is concerned, most of the benefits are only in Gujarat. Very little electricity is going to Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. But most of the irrigation and water comes to Gujarat, the water share also. So, but the submergence is in the other two states, which is very clever. Gujarat always does this, have big projects on the borders of its, and in Ukai and Kadana, you have submergence in the other states. So, of course, the other states are sensitive about that because the displacement is in their states, benefits are less. But when it comes to big dams in their own states, I mean, Narmada Sagar got built in Madhya Pradesh. They kept saying that we have no land to rehabilitate, but they also, whether it is Congress, BJP, their development policies have remained the same. There is a little bit of difference in the way the movement is dealt with by the Congress and the BJP. Their ideology of development is no different. But repression is definitely much stronger when it comes to a BJP ruled state, which we have found even in Madhya Pradesh. So,
Yeah. I mean,
but the development, dam chahiye, both, I mean, all states. Maharashtra is in fact one of the states where a maximum big dams have been built. So,
yes. This question also occurred to me because, this book earlier was published in Marathi first, Ladha Narmadecha, but it has not been published in Gujarati as yet, and then it is published in English. So I would like to ask you that why did you publish it in Marathi first and then you chose to publish it in English?
See, Keshavbhau and Kevalsingh, their mother tongue is Pauri. It doesn't have a written script. So they in fact transfer their history orally. That's the tradition. But when I interviewed them, a large part of the interview is in Marathi, some in Hindi and some in Pauri. And people do in that area understand Marathi because their submergence, these are the villages that fall in the submergence area in Maharashtra. So I very much wanted that the first book be out in the regional language, in the language which people spoke. It's basically, it should reach to their next generation, how they're, because now the struggle for Narmada, I mean, actually it began in 61 when the foundation stone was laid. There was resistance in Kevadia, early resistance, but the Narmada Bachao Andolan since mid-80s. So a whole generation is new now, and they should be able to read and understand what their area, their community fought. And it was important that the book is out in the regional language, and also it's a political statement as far as I'm concerned, that books should be out in regional language before in English. That's my personal politics as well. So it matched, so that it should be out in the language that people understood in the valley. A large number of people understood and could read in the valley. And I also feel that regional language needs to be given priority so that more people, marginalized sections of societies, can read this literature.
Thank you, Nandini. Would you like to also speak about your next book in relation to the Narmada struggle?
Actually, the next book is already ready. The manuscript is ready. It's, I tell you, Girish Bhai's, most of you who are from Gujarat here would know Girish Bhai Patel, a very senior advocate. He's considered to be, he's no more, he passed away, PIL man of Gujarat, public interest litigation man of Gujarat. In fact, he's the founder member of Narmada Bachao Andolan, very, very important member, ideologue of the movement, not just of the NBA, but since independence, he has been part of several movements in Gujarat, right from, independence to Maha Gujarat Andolan, to Teachers Andolan, to Navnirman Andolan. And in this oral history of his, which I have recorded over a decade, 3 times, in 2007, 12, and 17, he's given the entire history of Gujarat since independence, talking of how the development and communalism, the development that is being pursued, run parallel. And he has linked all these movements and several others, the sugarcane movement, the other movements. He has extremely well explained the many cases, and it's a very important political and developmental history of Gujarat, human rights history of Gujarat. The manuscript is ready, but no publisher, because he has taken to task every political party. I mean, all sections of, even the Gandhians are not spared, because, when it came to development, many of the senior Gandhians were also pro-dam. So he has explained how the whole development discourse played out, and the several movements he has talked about, and how they succeeded, failed, challenges. So that's, the manuscript is ready. I'm trying to find a publisher. Yes.
Okay. Even in this particular book, actually the take you have taken is very different from other researchers or other journalists or other even academicians who write about Narmada. It really doesn't center around popular leaders or popular names, and it doesn't center around leadership, but it talks about the Adivasi local leaders. So you dealt with this book very differently. So could you dwell upon it a bit and explain that why did you choose this path?
Alka, basically, I'm an activist at heart and mind. I'm not primarily a writer and a researcher. I love writing, I love researching, and I hold great value. But my first and permanent love is activism. For me, oral history methodology is also a tool to fight dominant, powerful discourse. So it's not just these recordings are not just important as a historian for archival value, but these are voices as tools to continue to fight. Hum marte dam tak, as Keshavbhau says, hum ladte rahe, hum vinashkari yojnaएं bolte rahenge. So my primary aim is to show that there is a whole huge mass resistance against this aggressive, for-profit, destructive development. So this is my primary aim. And more the voices, the better it is. The government wants to focus that ye to thode bahut log विरोध करते हैं, बाकी को तो चाहिए. So to explain that it's not true, they want to minimize the resistance to a handful of people. My thing is that this is a mass resistance, and that can come out only when there are multiple voices speaking against it. Yeah. And so this is a tool for me as an activist also. It's not just an academic or historian exercise. I don't mean to say that they are not important. They are important. I also strive to do that. But I come from, these are the voices as tools to continue resistance, to sustain it, to show that we will continue to fight. These voices are the weapons to fight. When government comes with, one Adivasi leader has said, when government comes to evict us with lathi, goli and a dam kind of a weapon, our tongue is the only weapon. That's a non-violent. So for me, these voices are also the weapon, non-violent weapon to fight this destructive development. So my methodology will be different.
Yeah. I recall that, in your book, there is a narration somewhere that there was wide opposition, of course, in the state. Most were opposing, but there was support, and which we found in some of the, corners of the books, that, okay, how they narrate that, how did people, when satyagrahis were going, who was feeding them, who was taking care of their travel. So could you please reflect a bit on those kind of stories, and how did you find those supports from whom, where, when, etc.
In fact, even in Gujarat, we had wide support. We had, wherever we went, in fact, Rajkot, Jamnagar, Bhavnagar, people were ready to organize meetings, to listen to both sides, have debates, listen to NBA. often these meetings were attacked and, they were not allowed to happen. Otherwise, we had rights. People used to give us funding. A lot of funding came from Gujarat also. Kutchis also supported us, people from Kutch. Our first boat in the Narmada came from the people of Kutch because, earlier we used to have just donkeys. So in publications, people would say, hum kar lenge, quietly. But when our office was attacked in Baroda, we had whole lot of people in Ahmedabad who did demonstration, that no, we may agree, disagree, but NBA office has to function. Similarly, in Bhavnagar, when our public meeting was attacked, 3 people went on fast. Meghani, Mahendra Bhai Meghani, one another Gandhian, and left a member from the left party. They sat on a one-day fast condemning the attack. They said, we may agree, we may not agree, but this kind of not allowing people to speak function. So in Gujarat also, we had Ashwini Bhai Bhatt, Lekhak, like, a very well-known, his house was our office for a very long time in Ahmedabad. Vadodara Kamdar Union, NBA office ran from them. So in Gujarat, we had extensive support. Of course, from the displaced people's villages, there was a Sangathan there. But we had Vadodara Kamdar Union, Sayyar, Swashray, women's organizations, journalists, so many of them, they fought against their seniors to be able to write, so many journalists in Gujarat. I can actually, if there had been time, I can remember and just tell their names here. So, at some point, and in this Girish Bhai's book explains this, which is ready, the whole role of Gujarat in all these struggles, what it has been, both sides, the pro and the anti. So, and NBA worked on voluntary contribution. All of us activists were volunteers, not paid. Offices were our homes as well. Alka knows about it. So, yes, these are just some glimpses. Our travel expenses were met by wherever we went. We ate there.
Okay, that was good. Hiranya, you told me you have a pressing question there.
Yes,
so
yes.
You can ask that. Yeah.
I do. Nandini, there seems to be a current focus on Sardar Sarovar projects, especially in print media. This is something that you also touched upon in the beginning of the session and also in the subsequent questions put to you. The narrative seems to be about how people of Gujarat are very happy about the project and how it has benefited them, including the ones those are displaced. So I was wondering, what is your take on these questions that are raised?
First, about the ones displaced. See, the number of people who have been displaced in Gujarat, Kevadia colony, they're still fighting. 6 villages, they were displaced in 61. In fact, more and more villages around Kevadia colony are now being, their lands and resources are being taken away for the Statue of Unity 5-star tourism. So it doesn't come in the media, but just last few years, there have been massive rallies, even dharnas and everything have been going on in Kevadia. Downstream of the Sardar Sarovar project, this doesn't come out. It has been huge impact. The 110 kilometer that is flowing below the Sardar Sarovar dam, the 10,000 fisher people's families have been impacted because the dam is the terminal dam. Most of the year, water won't flow below the dam, and suddenly in monsoon, there is huge releases. So there is kind of no water and suddenly more water. The whole fishing community, their livelihood has been disrupted. They have had massive rallies in the past 5-6 years. The people of civil society of Ankleshwar and Bharuch, they are very concerned because their water has suddenly just gone. There was a free flowing perennial river. They approached the Green Tribunal, National Green Tribunal, with their case that there has to be at least some release from the Sardar Sarovar. The Green Tribunal just did not, it's a long story. The matter went there. Recently, Jignesh Mevani had a big rally that Vadgam and his constituency ko Narmada ka pani nahi milne wala hai. Hum to wo keh rahe the nahi milne wala hai. These are all areas outside the Narmada command. So in fact, it's a wrong demand. Who all can get? There is only this much water. The plan is also beyond Mahi. Even if they build canals, there will be no water in summer when the need is the most. Suresh Mehta, who is of the same party as mm, uh, Mr. Narendra Modi, he has very clearly just recently in 2019 election, do we have the time? I'll just read out his paragraph.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
he has said that what? These are the words of Suresh Mehta, ex-Chief Minister of Gujarat, BJP, senior colleague of Mr. Narendra Modi. The government is itself admitting that the work of canals is not complete. The government says that in 2017-18, it will complete 3,856 kilometers of canals only. At this rate, to complete canals, it will take 11 more years. Right now, the government is spending 9,000 crores a year. So the budget will be 99,000 crores in 11 years. He also says 11,000 families have been resettled in 200 resettlement sites out of 40,000 families. This is his own party name. And as far as, yes, of course, some pockets of prosperity will be created, in the sense that Narmada ka pani ab Sabarmati mein beh raha hai, river front. So people on the river front may be happy, but Bharuch and Ankleshwar people have gone to the NGT. They had gone to the NGT, Hamari Nadi gayi. So what you have done is, earlier armies used to go and rob people of their resources. Now it is in the name of development. Just take that water from the downstream and submerge the Adivasis and agriculturists and transfer it to Sabarmati riverfront and some pockets here and there. So of course, pockets of prosperity, abundance of water, you will see. But it has left a lot of people within Gujarat also deprived of their own resources. And rehabilitation, Madhya Pradesh has been the most affected. Out of the 245 villages, 193 belong to Madhya Pradesh, So people have not been resettled there at all, in the sense only a few have been. Government said we have no land, we'll give just cash compensation. So if you go deeper and study deeper, you will know that it has impacted Gujarat also very adversely.
Thanks, Nandini.
Thank
Now,
you.
If any of the audiences have any questions, they could raise it, or Manasi, if you want to ask something.
Yes, thanks, Nandini. Thanks for the enlightening speech, as well as really opening our eyes again back to this development discourse. And I do see that you talk about how even the local people are very much clear-headed about, that ye vikas nahi vinash hai. That's a very common rhetoric which can be heard in the rural and among the indigenous people. So they understand all this very well. Somewhere post-independence, we do see a situation where the indigenous people have been distanced from the whole. Really, it's very scary to use the word development process, to be honest. But in the whole growth process of the country, they have been discriminated to large extent. And as the disparity is very clear, that the benefit goes to the urban people and at the cost of the rural people. And people are very much aware of it.
Within urban also,
there is a disparity between rich and poor. So my question to you is, about with your experience and all, how far can we go on imposing these kind of development ideologies on the people who are really not wanting to have it? For example, if I have learned enough about Narmada and all, I know even in Gujarat, there were not many favorable people, because even at the end of the day, people prefer decentralized water management because they have control in their own village talab and all, So these monsters coming with large, water systems and all, then people are not only distanced, they don't even, understand how to manage them. So they in a way become dependent on the government. and government is not enough equipped to take care of these things to the large extent, then we slowly move on to privatization. And that's a big risk, which we have seen already in Chhattisgarh, that they went ahead and did privatize a part of the river, you know. So my question to you is that, do you really see there is some kind of convergence coming at some point in time in our evolution as a country, that we really have a participatory development where people have voice?
To me, it is clear this is a battle between the power hungry and the resourceful. They want to, in the name of, it's a weapon.
Development is a weapon.
It's a weapon. It's a very nice weapon in a way in which to draw people's resources and decide where will it be given. So the canals will pass through Ahmedabad. They were not supposed to go to Baroda, Ahmedabad, but they will. So it's a weapon. Here, there's not going to be any change of heart. It's not that they don't know. They know. They are aware. So it's a battle. And the stronger we fight, the better it will be. So, but we have to be very clear that the developers know what they do.
So
They're very clever.
Manasi, for this question, I would want to read something from the book.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So in the book itself, like the book really narrates very well that how long this struggle has been. What is known out there in the public domain is some years, but the struggle has been going on since many, many years. And the negotiation which these Adivasis did with the government, extraordinary. Because, if I'm reading from the book itself, like I'm reading the page 22, where, he narrates the story that how he negotiated at the local level with the government. He says, Sahib, give it to us if you can. Otherwise, we are going back. It is your need, not ours, that you give us another land. It is your need, not ours, that you have to give us. That's such an affirmation. So that kind of stand from local leadership and long years of fight. So that is what is important. Yeah.
And we started where, there was official secrets act around the dam. From there to right to information, we have a right to participate. So from dams as temples of modern India, I grew up believing in large dams. Today there's a question mark. So it has been a long journey and it has to become stronger. The struggles have to become stronger. We are up against many odds, but that's the only way. It's a battle. It's a struggle.
Alka, if you may allow me a little bit, few lines to add to Nandini.
Sure.
Yeah. Nandini, what hurts me and probably a lot of people like you, Alka and Hiranya and all, that educated people like us are actually being the tools which are used by the politicians to really make these kind of projects. I mean, we are the ones who are confirming that this is a good thing. Whereas we are the ones who are writing those projects, we are the ones who are making those tagging people and all. I mean, which is really scary, because if education has to divide the society, what are we doing then? I mean, when I'm saying we, I'm really putting the larger aggregate of educated elites who are really going the development saga. I mean, I'm also not against development, just like probably you and Alka, but then there is the overall growth. Development is not that my child goes and studies in US and I have a Swiss account. I mean, it's about a holistic development.
Nandini, you want to take this?
No, I think it was a statement she made, right?
Yes.
General observation.
Yeah, you want to add to it?
I think if there are any more questions, we will take. So,
okay. Anyone?
There is a point written by Aditi. Maybe you can take it up till people ask. She writes that such a paradox that so-called water solutions make water problems even worse. We may see similar thing play out again. when it comes to energy transitions. Yeah. Okay.
That's also, I think, an observation and a statement. So
Yeah.
I don't think I need to. There's a lot. I think all of you here are experts themselves who work for a long time, so they can even share their views, not necessarily questions. I can see Rajendra Bhai there.
I want to make a comment.
Please do.
I mean, especially when there is any talk of water conservation, in Gujarat, the general reply is कि अब तो नर्मदा का पानी आ गया है. Because we were working on we were trying to convince some people about using water, low water consumption toilets in rural areas of around Rajkot. And the answer was that there is no problem. Narmada water is there. So, and of course in Ahmedabad, I think most of us are enjoying Narmada water. There is abundant, and the whole thing about uneven distribution. I mean, the western part of the city is is getting water at the cost of the eastern part of the city. I mean, all these things are quite well known, but nobody, I think there is no one to fight. That's the whole problem, because you need that kind of leadership, like what Veda provided. That is the kind of leadership you require now, and especially with the current government. Forget about fight. You're going and speaking in the public. You invite problems. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, Hiranya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mansi, I hope there are no questions on the live forums that the
I'm
session is
checking.
being
I'm
projected.
checking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one more thing that Rupal just mentioned, that on one hand there is a lot of talk of solar, but there is no talk of rainwater harvesting. I mean, just as you can do solar in the urban areas, you can do rainwater harvesting everywhere, and there is absolutely no talk. And the groundwater is going down and down and down. So there is no concern and there is no cognizance of this very scary reality.
True. And Gujarat has phenomenal models, both new and even old, in rainwater harvesting. In Dwarka and lots of places you have the older ones, the newer models also. So there's no dearth of that, which could be replicated.
Right. I just had one observation, Nandini. This is more with respect to people of my generation and today's youth. What I've realized is that not only is there a tendency to kind of lean towards the popular opinion, but there's also a tendency to move further and further away from documentation. I mean, of course, there is that tendency to not even read what is already documented, but at the same time, there seems to be a resistance to listen to voices which aren't glamorous, to perhaps there could be a better word, but there seems to be a tendency to not reach out to the people with a want of learning, but more with the want of telling them that this is how it should be done, instead of trying to understand what their perspectives have been, to respect the people from villages enough to understand their perspective. So more than that, your endeavor, this book is personally very inspirational, just because of the mammoth exercise it is. To have spent so many years and such exhaustive research on just documenting what is there, and there is of course so much learning there that it kind of reaffirms that learning for me. Yeah.
Thank you. But I really feel, that now with the kind of availability of social media, I had never imagined that these voices could reach out ever. When I started out in 2004, I just thought I'll just place it somewhere. God knows who will go and hear them. कोई एक archive center में पड़ा रहेगा. But I feel at least now, in just 1.5 years of the website, I have more than 10,000 views.
Wow.
So I'd never imagined that people will listen to Mulji Bhai Tadvi. Yes, 1,200 people have already heard him. Who's Mulji Bhai Tadvi? The first Sarpanch of Kevadia colony. So I feel it has opened up the new generation can, if they want, reach out. Earlier, unless I went to Kevadia, I would not know what's happening. So
Absolutely.
I feel I'm a little more optimistic, that these new, unless you don't need to go to a library. Rural areas where the library hai nahi, but now you have e-books, you can read them. I'm sure in the interior villages, now there are sites which the Adivasis themselves have started creating, of their music,
Yes.
their culture, their stories, their history. So I think it will not be so bad. I think it will be, I feel it's quite positive, and I compare it with the kind of avenues we had.
Absolutely.
Also, the kind of words, Hiranya, you are saying motivates us.
Thank you, Alka. Since there aren't any questions, we would wrap this session up, I think. I'd like to thank you, Nandini, for your time. This has been a very insightful session. I think we go back with many facets of development to meditate on, and we go back with important learnings on the perspectives of Adivasi leaders from the forefront of the struggle. Thank you, Alka, for holding this enriching conversation, and thank you, Friday.Waters, for this opportunity. For the next session, we invite you to Thesis Club of Friday.Waters session on 21st October at 5 p.m. IST to discuss water management and agrarian livelihoods in Kaveri Delta region with Jyoti Nair. The link to join the session is in the chat box. Also in the chat box is the link to access Nandini's writings. Perhaps it's gone up in the order. I'll again reshare it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, very close to my heart. Many of them I've worked with. Rajendra Bhai, Rupal Ben, Alka. So many years of association around water. So thank you so much for calling me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really nice listening to you.
Thanks for pursuing me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can go after people. I'm not really embarrassed about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Hiranya, and thank Alka.